thank you guys all for joining. For those of you that are at your lunch hour, we appreciate you taking the time to spend with us. Those of you that's a little bit earlier in the day, we still appreciate you giving up a piece of your morning to spend some time with us. My name is Eric Vitardi from Foundation Software. Glad to join the folks from Pronovos, both Bruce and Kevin, on the presentation today. They are longstanding partners of ours. Perfect. Foundation Software has been around since 1985. A lot of you guys are familiar. We kind of checked the attendee list before so we can tailor this production a little bit to the audience here. So I think there are a lot of Foundation Software folks out there. For those of you that are not familiar, we're an accounting software that's been around since 1985. We now offer for existing clients and maybe folks that are new to us. We have now purchased or created a couple other different solutions. So if you're looking for a payroll solution, they'll issue paychecks, direct deposits. We have payroll for construction, 2 estimating solutions, both through the Estimating Edge and McCormick, who have joined our family recently, and then the Project HQ developed internally. We've rolled out as well. So a lot happening on the foundation side. Happy to answer any of those questions going forward. But the real stars of the show today are the folks over at Pronovos. So I think maybe we'll kick it over to them. But just before we do so, I want to make sure, keep an eye out as we go through this. There's going to be some poll questions. So make sure to answer those poll questions. And then there's some question and answer opportunity at the end. So if you guys have anything, pop them in the chat. We may not get to them right away, but I'll fire them off to the moderators as we go forward. It looks like we got our first poll question coming up right now. But I'll answer those questions or I'll moderate them and we can answer as many as we can near the end. And other than that, I think we'll kick it off to these folks who I can't speak highly enough, both Bruce Orr and Kevin Bright over at Pronovos.
So Eric, thank you very much for taking the time. For those that don't know Eric, I know this is your off day, so I appreciate it. That's passion. Well, I'm Bruce Orr. I'm with Pronovos. And for those that don't know about Pronovos, we are a construction analytics company. So if you think about the people that are behind Pronovos, it's really just a bunch of nerds that are pulling data and trying to help our customers make better decisions. We also have Kevin Bright. He is too a nerd, but he also brings that real intense construction flair, and he's going to be talking about how we bridge the gap. And so what I'm going to do to save time is just get right into the presentation. That way Kevin can jump in. And,
Bruce, if I may interrupt quickly, I think you brought up a good point. We didn't talk about this beforehand, but for those of you that joined our user conference, Pronovos had maybe the largest following of the most attended session that we had there as far as what they're going to speak on today. So he talks about being nerds and being able to help folks. I mean, we can speak firsthand about a number of our clients have really seen the value in this product. And that's why we want to jump in today and help support these folks, because our clients are better for it. They make better clients for us. Everybody wins all the way around. Sorry to interrupt you. I thought that was worth stating.
No, I really appreciate that, Eric. During the user conference, we had a greater amount of time to give the presentation, and we had another person, Wig Zimmerman, that gave this presentation with us. Because we have a condensed amount of time here, it's not going to be the same presentation, but we are still delivering, hopefully, the meat of it. To give you just a bit about my background, I have worked in analytics for a long time, and I've done some really cool things with some big companies around predicting some very, I guess you could say, some things that people may not would care to have it predicted. For instance, who's giving birth, what regions have a higher death rate, all of that. And I've taken all of my knowledge over the decades and focused on construction. And what I hope you see today will be something that will be beneficial. So it's going to be a bit of education as well as a bit of us showing you how it is implemented. Before I get started, Kevin, anything you want to say before we go to the slides and get into it?
No, I think you hit it all, Bruce. I guess a little background about myself was before I came to work for Pronovos, I was actually using Pronovos as when I was a project manager for a contractor, and it really is powerful. Some of the analytics and the insights that the platform can provide to you on your different project. You know, a lot of things that you take for granted that can kind of provide insights into it, and that's kind of always been my mantra is usually in my experience when contractors run into issues on a job site, it's not because they're doing something wrong or they didn't know what they were doing. It's typically because they just didn't catch something in time. And that's really what we're trying to do here is kind of, all right, let's dive into the data that you have, kind of really understand what's happening on your project so you can be more proactive to kind of catch some of those mistakes before they happen.
Yeah, makes sense. I love it. So the title of this webinar is Bridging the Information Gap Between the Field and the Office. But one may want to ask themselves the severity of that gap. There was a study that was done a while back. Actually, it's 2018. And if you all are as busy as everyone else, then I am sure that you understand we are way busier, and this problem that we're looking at has just gotten worse. But it says that the average worker wastes 14.1 hours per week on non-optimal activities. And you might ask yourself, well, what are the non-optimal activities? Over to the right, we see, it's looking for project data and information. 5.5 hours you spend doing that. 4.7 hours a week, conflict resolution, and then 3.9 hours a week dealing with mistakes and rework. So when we think about the information gap, it has a value to it. And what we're trying to do and what we are doing is providing a way to minimize the cost to you. And so if we look a little further into the poor data and communication, we all know that it's a burden not only on the contractor themselves, but also on the industry. So if 8.2 hours a week is spent communicating with project stakeholders, then you have to ask yourself, well, can that be minimized? And the answer is yes, it could be minimized with some of the tools we're going to show you today. Again, everything has a cost. And what we're going to do in this presentation is break it down to something that is tangible. These numbers that I'm sharing with you are big numbers, and it probably is hard to wrap your head around. And for some on the call, I think that you might say, oh, no, we're not that bad. Those are, if you ask me, I think that you are in the best breed of contractors, and you've got it figured out. There was another study that I read, actually Foundation put this together. It was basically it was a survey that they did. It was a 2021 survey. And it was very similar. Their survey, the results of the survey showed that as it relates to the field, getting information, how information is communicated between the field and the office. Again, Excel spreadsheets, even a big percentage of people were still using pen and paper and email. A large percentage of them were using email. Now, I always say that we do whatever we have to do to get the job done. But our job as the nerds in the room is to let you focus on the things that you need to do to get better at your business. So we evaluate the two groups, the field and the office, in two lights. So we understand that the field, that's where the money is being made. And we believe that in the office, that's where strategy is created, and you communicate that strategy to the field to help the executives get better. From our perspective, the analytics and what Pronovos is doing is always helping you raise the bar and getting better. So let's talk about the tangible things. Everyone on this webinar, I believe they are doing WIP in some form or fashion. And when we look at the WIP, a lot of the things that we're looking at is how can we help you with margin fade? What are those large underbillings? What are those large overbillings? You know, it's really interesting when you think of overbillings. Typically, a lot of people may think it's a good thing, but as Kevin said, we try to show you the things that you may not be thinking about. And then the last thing is the cost incurred and the percentage complete in relation to billing. So we'll go through the WIP. We'll also go through the projected final cost. What we've done with the projected final cost is we've taken collective information from multiple contractors. We've met with a few data scientists, me included, and we put real intelligence behind the projected final cost so that margin erosion doesn't happen. And Kevin will showcase that as well. Data-driven job reviews. I really love this. The person that actually gave the presentation with us down in Orlando used to be Kevin's boss, and he was the person that will conduct the job reviews. For anyone on the call that's doing the job reviews, when you are doing job reviews with Pronovos, it's different. It's different because when questions are asked, you don't have to say, I don't know, or I think. You have the dashboards and the data to respond to that information. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And last but not least, we'll actually go into our offering. But what I like to do now is take a step back and give Kevin the presentation capability. And Kevin, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Bruce. So what I'm going to go through here is some of the more tangible things of what Bruce just discussed right there, kind of how you get from your projected final cost to your WIP report to doing that more data-driven job reviews. And really what we're trying to, like Bruce touched on, is we want to increase your accessibility to your data. So you're not having to do any exporting to Excel, any manipulation. Because if you remember on those first graphics Bruce showed, that was really where a lot of the time was lost. It's just kind of searching for the right data, the right information. We want to increase how quickly all of your field employees, your project managers can see what's going on the project. So the first one I want to touch on is a labor hours analysis. This is kind of a very simple one, but something that's really powerful just to have right at your field's fingertips to kind of see where are they tracking on a project. I think this is something, probably most contractors are doing is sending a labor report to their field employees, but they're probably doing it on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis after payroll runs. And the information is always lagging that 1 week behind, or they're having to wait for someone to send them the report. When you have a dashboard like this, your field employees can log in whenever they need to and see exactly how they're tracking across different cost codes. So they can see exactly, okay, where am I running over budget? I can see I'm already over budget on my excavation, or how many hours they might have remaining on an activity. So on the PVC liner here, we can see we have 23 hours remaining. So you can kind of start with that very simple, hey, what are my hours to date versus what my budget hours were? But then you can also slice and dice the information in different ways. And this is one of my favorite visuals in the top left here is it's basically plotting out how many labor hours you spent on a project month over month. And then it's basically going to do a regression to basically assign, all right, what does that labor curve look like? And this is a really good indicator of when you might be getting into trouble on a project if your labor starts to stretch out. Most projects, if you look at your labor curve, you see this very smooth bell curve where it goes up and then it comes back down. A good indicator if you might be running into labor overruns on a project is if this labor curve starts to get stretched out. Let's say you go up, you peak, and then rather than coming right back down, it stretches out for months and months and months on end. Those are the type of things you can start to look at just visually to start to understand how are you performing on a project when it comes to your labor. And what's great about this is every contractor is going to have, a slightly different labor curve that looks familiar depending on what type of work they do. And you can start to identify what those trends might be as you look at different projects and what that curve looks like. So this is a great place to start. This is, I think, one of the most powerful dashboards just to get in the hands of your superintendents, your foremen. There's no cost data related to this, so you don't have to worry about exposing payroll data, but it's just a great check to kind of give them, a greater sense of control that they understand what's happening on their projects. So probably the next place you would take from this is doing a projected final cost. So let's say your foreman looks at, this PVC liner cost code and says, hey, we have 23 hours remaining in the budget, but I actually think it's going to take, 60 hours to complete this. What do you do to make sure you're updating, what that adjustment looks like, and making sure you're capturing that information? So what we have here is a projected final cost tool where the project manager can go in and make adjustments to different cost code activities based on the feedback that he's getting from the field on, where a cost code might actually end up. Or maybe it's, they finished the buyout and you need to go in and make adjustments. So what this tool is going to do is it's going to get the project manager some information directly at the top. So what was the original contract amount, the budget, the margin to date? You can also see, all right, if we take into account change orders, what's the revised contract, the budget, the revised margin. And what it's going to do is on the right here, it's going to give you a margin tracker. So it's going to tell you, okay, if my revised margin was 29.26%, based on the updates I've made to the different cost code activities, I'm actually projected to finish, at a margin slightly below 18%. So I'm experiencing a profit fade of 11.39%. And this is something that I think is really important for project managers to have a good handle on. It's usually where a lot of the questions are going to come from the CFO or the CEO as they're doing their financials is, hey, what's kind of driving that profit margin on a job? And as a project manager, having this kind of front and center to make sure it's something you're always considering as you make your adjustments, it's just a really good reminder of where are some of the ramifications as you're making these updates. But then if we get into the meat of the report here, and we actually look at the different cost code breakdown, what this is going to do is it's going to give you a projected final cost for each line item. Excuse me. So it's going to look at, all right, what's my revised budget, any prior adjustments I've made, and new adjustments. And it's going to compare that to the job to date costs plus the commitments. And it's basically going to say which is the greater of those two values, and that's going to be my projected final cost. So you'll see here on line items where the job to date cost plus the commitments is greater than my revised budget, it's going to highlight it red, right? Because basically that's saying, hey, if I've already gone over on that cost code activity, I realize I have a bust on my budget here and I need to make an adjustment to it. So let's say, for example, this rough plumbing cost code, we can see we didn't have any original budget, but we already have $15,000 in cost. So I know I need to make an adjustment here. So if I select this line item, it's going to tell me, hey, you need to make an adjustment of at least $15,029. Let's say, hey, I think I'm actually going to come in above that. So I'm going to put in an adjustment for $20,000. What's great about this tool is as you're entering the adjustments, it's going to prompt you to enter the root cause for that adjustment. And this is something that I think is really important that contractors are capturing is not only what is that adjustment, but what was the driving factor behind that? I can't tell you the number of times I would get to an end of a project I managed and, over the course of it, you make a dozen different adjustments across different line items and you completely forget kind of what the root cause for that is. And you're kind of doing a job debrief at the end of it. And whether it's your VP of operations or your head estimator is asking, hey, why did we finish above or below budget on this? And everyone's kind of looking around the room kind of with a slightly different story of what actually drove that cause. So let's say on this one, I said, hey, I need to do 20,000 here because we had rework we had to do. And let's say the pipes were in the wrong place. I can then save that adjustment and it's going to basically capture it in this prior adjustments down here. So now if we're going back and looking at a cost code and saying, hey, why did we make this adjustment for $20,000? It's going to capture that root cause and the comments. And what's really powerful about this is it's not only looking at it at a specific line item, but it's going to aggregate it across the whole project. So if I look at my full report here, I can start to see the different root cause breakdowns behind all the different adjustments I made. And this is really great because now you're not only looking at an individual line item, but you can start to capture what are some of those larger trends you're experiencing across a project and several projects. And you can start to zero in on places you might need improvements. For example, if you have a lot of adjustments related to missing information or poor coordination, that probably tells you, hey, we're not getting either the right drawings out to the field or we're not asking the right RFIs at the right time. We need to take a look at how we're handling that process. Maybe it's something good. Maybe you had a negotiated buyout where you saved money. And that's something you're like, all right, well, now we've identified a new supplier that we can go to on a more regular basis to kind of save money on our buyout. So it's not only a bad thing, it can be a good thing, but really kind of capturing those things of what are we doing good and what are we doing bad, and identifying it so you can then kind of dig in deeper to say, all right, how can we fix this so we don't experience those overruns on future projects?
Kevin, I love that. So I just have a question for you. When you are experiencing variances, whether it be good or bad, it would be nice if the system could sort of tell you in advance where you're headed. And I guess my question is, does it currently do that? And if not, what's the plan for it?
Yeah, no, that's definitely what kind of excites us most about what we're doing here. By capturing the root cause behind what's driving some of these changes, we can start to look for patterns and trends and then start to warn contractors when they might start to experience an overrun on an activity. So for example, let's say, we see, hey, on the last 5 times, you had concrete pours, you had missing information. All right, on the next cost or on the next job, if you have a cost code for concrete pours, we can warn you and say, hey, that's something that we've experienced on these last cost codes. So that's where we really get excited about where we can start to take this in the future. It's not only that kind of analysis of what's happening in real time, but as we get more sophisticated and better at it, we can start looking forward to understand, all right, what are some of these things we need to look out for as we progress to future projects? So, a lot of that right now, it's still to come, but it's very exciting in terms of the potential of what we can do with that information.
Got it. I love it. So I'm not going to ask my questions. We have 2 questions in the Q&A since we're on here, and I'll let Eric know.
Yeah, sure. We got two questions, both from Kathy, and they're about at the same time. I think you kind of alluded to this a little bit. So no internal PCO. So that's what she was asking in the middle of the time. And then additionally, she asked, can you get a report on the adjustments with the root cause? So I think those are somewhat related here.
Yeah. So in terms of the internal PCO and whether the adjustments here get entered back into Foundation, you can either do it 2 ways. You can either, hey, say this is the adjustment and we're going to keep that adjustment kind of in Pronovos, or you can say, all right, once we've made the adjustments, we know what the macro level is. You can then go enter an internal change order for that lump sum amount in Foundation. And what we do here is we have an option where you can basically select which change orders that you want to include in the calculations here from Foundation. So if you still are doing those internal change orders in Foundation, you can include them here. So as it's picking up that revised budget, it's showing here as well.
And we got some questions coming in, Kevin. So if you don't mind, you want me to keep firing them at you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. So Tom asks, can the root cause descriptions be customized per company, per job, and are they standard? Or are they standard?
Yeah, so right now they are standard. So what you'll see here is if you enter a adjustment that's increasing the cost, you're going to get kind of these negative negative root causes. What we do have is an other option down here at the bottom. So if you select other, it will require you to enter a comment kind of saying that. The other caveat I'll say with this is a new functionality that we're rolling out. So I expect as we get feedback from users, these root causes the list will grow to include some other ones.
Fantastic. And then Chris was asking, how does this work for jobs that are a little bit shorter. It seems like they got jobs that are roughly 4 to 6 weeks and so forth. How that would look.
Yeah, so it would work the same way. Typically, what we see a lot of contractors do is they're doing this projected final cost update kind of once a month prior to like an internal job reviews meeting. Now, if it's a shorter job that's only 4 to 6 weeks, you may not have the need to do that. But what's great about it is even if it's a short job where you're not keeping track of, you're not coming in and making adjustments, it's still going to do the internal logic where it's going to create the projected final cost number for you based on your job to date cost and commitments. So you're still going to get that analysis of what the profit margin fade is, even if you're not coming in and making adjustments.
Okay. A couple of questions coming in, kind of payroll related here, and I think we're coming up against it. So we'll keep the questions coming, guys. And if we don't get to them here, Kevin or myself or the rest of the team get you some answers here shortly thereafter. But Kathy was asking how payroll hours are accounted on the project costs when the payroll is not posted in Foundation, because you guys are making that ODVC connection, and I guess she's asking it's in there, but it's not yet actually like posted and cemented in Foundation just yet.
Yeah, so there's basically two different reports that we'll have in the system. One is going to look at the labor hours that are posted in payroll from Foundation. And then the other one's going to look at the pending hours that come from it's payroll for construction, right? Eric, I get the name of the
Yeah. So yeah, for what, I'll let you finish that actually.
No, that's so I think the follow-up one was asking, what's the timekeeping app? That's the one we're looking at, the Foundation.
Oh, so yeah, so Foundation software, obviously, because some people aren't aware of the distinction. There's Foundation software, and then the payroll module for Foundation software is actually used as a calculator in kind of the engine for payroll for construction. Payroll for construction will issue paychecks and direct deposits and so forth. What he's asking for is a timekeeping app to give live labor hours. Busy is a partner that we utilize with Foundation. We have our own solution as well. So I would assume you guys would not have any issue working with any different labor hours as long as they're coming into Foundation via your integration method. So Busy writes to our pending time card table. Our mobile app writes to our pending time card table. So if you're using one of those apps, I think that should be fine. Is that the question that you're referring to, Kevin?
Yeah, and that's a great point, Eric. As long as the information is going to Foundation, we are able to pull it into our system. So any of those timekeeping apps, like Eric said, that interfaces with Foundation, we'd be able to pull that information into Pronovos. Okay,
cool. So I think we're about to hit the end here. I know we got a couple more questions, so we'll maybe get to them at another time. But I think Bruce, if you will, I don't know if you want to kick back over to you or Kevin, but I know you guys went out of your way to kind of offer a trial for Foundation clients specifically, and I want to make sure we highlight that because we're appreciative of that, right? I mean, I appreciate you guys. You guys have done a whole bunch of stuff to make sure that this is a really seamless integration, right? I mean, setting up with Foundation is a matter of putting in a couple of credentials and connecting from there. It's really amazing how quickly that's done. But above and beyond that, you guys do things like this too, like this free trial. So we really appreciate what you guys do for our customers. But I'd like you to highlight that if you got a moment.
Yeah, for sure. Let me actually share my slide here. I
mean to put you on the spot here.
No, I absolutely. I definitely want to talk to that. I think I lost here we go. All right. Let me know when you can see this. And I know, Kevin, you just got started. There were so many other things that you were going to share. So let's see here. Sorry about that. All right. Yeah. So for the Foundation users, we do have a free trial. It's a 30-day trial. It's basically sync your data. You have access to the marketplace where you can get the labor hours analysis, WIP dashboard, profit margin analysis, and we're always pumping out new dashboards. This is essentially taking all of your analytics, all of your foundation data and showing you the true analytics. There's also a self-service component to it. You can go to cm.pronovos.com/register and be up and running essentially right away. So please take us up on that, and we hope that we can basically say hello to you. And I know that we're actually a minute over. I want to be cognizant of everyone's time, but I don't know how we want to handle questions. But with that said, I'll stop sharing and turn it back over to you, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, we got about 4 or 5. There's a question on the internet. There's a couple that are kind of tied into the interface and integration with Foundation. Kevin or Bruce, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but I think, if we can kind of answer those in one fell swoop, and then we'll see if we got some time for 1 or 2 more after that, but at least we can knock out a couple questions there.
Yeah. Is it the?
They're gone now. I took them off the screen. Okay. So it's how essentially they're asking how you guys integrate with Foundation. I'm assuming.
This is
that area where you guys, where you put in the database and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So basically, once you go register, you enter your information. We ask that you provide Pronovos with a login for your foundation data. You enter that, you click submit, and then it automatically pulls the data over. I don't know, Kevin, if you can show an example of that or not.
Yeah, I'm working on pulling it up right now.
That's pretty sharp. And again, I kind of alluded to like the work that you guys put in to simplify that process for Foundation users. So I think that'd be cool if you could show it, because I think that might be the smoothest integration we have with any partner at this point.
Yeah, so what you do is you would create an account like Bruce said, and then in the top right, there's an option to go to Sync Manager. You would select Foundation from the dropdown, add new database, select whether it's you're either hosted by Foundation or your server is on premise. Enter your database name, credentials, and password. And then when you hit submit, it's going to basically send you a prompt saying, all right, we're working on pulling all your data, and then someone would be in contact within 48 hours once we've pulled all the data on our side and made sure the data model is populating correctly.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. I don't see any more. The other question was with exact time, but I think that's related to previously. Whatever timekeeping solution you're using, as long as you're getting into the Foundation, it could work with these offerings too. But I don't know if my email's on there. I'm edv@foundationsoft.com. Echo Delta Victor. I'm Eric Tardy. If you guys have any Foundation specific questions, I can help. Also, these guys know how to get a hold of me. So if you guys are going through the process and learning some more with them as you go, I encourage you to reach out or ask any additional questions that you can throughout that discovery process.
All right. Well, thank you very much for everyone joining. It was such a short period of time. We had so much more to show, but please be on the lookout for more webinars coming in the near future.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.